everyone, my name is Stephanie Castillo, and today we're going to be talking about special education, law, some court cases that happen, as well as resources that are provided to parents and teachers to help students with special needs. Starting in about the 1950s, families really started getting together to try and get their children a better education. So when this started to happen, they passed a law for teachers to be provided training so they can work with these kids. The downfall was that these teachers were not given the proper training. Their training was only for the deaf, hard of hearing, and intellectually impaired students. It was not an all around disability. So Down syndrome kids didn't get the proper education they needed because the teachers weren't being trained on how to teach them, along with other disabilities. By 1970 is really when things started to follow through and change for special education. Laws were starting to be passed so that these kids can be given a proper education. In 1973, the Rehabilitation Act was passed, and this was a time where all disabled as well as disabled students were given accommodations to better their education. And in 1975, the EHA, which is also known as the Education for All Handicapped Children, this is where children were given an appropriate education at no cost, and they were accommodated as well. By 1997, this had changed into the IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which, even though it was the same thing, the IDEA was progressed in a way of emphasizing the importance of an individual education plan, which is also known as an IEP. Moving forward, between 2001 and 2004, the No Child Left Behind Act came about, and this means no child left behind. It's very simple, meaning everybody was given an equal education. Everybody was given the same opportunities, and because they had special needs, these children were not left behind. Today, most states and local schools do provide and cover 91% of what's needed for the special education. That other 9% is usually covered by federal, which the only way for federal to cover it is if the state meets the federal criteria that are needed. There's two court cases I'd like to talk about, which was Armstrong versus Klein. This was where the extended school years started to come into place because it was parents of 5 students with disabilities, all different disabilities, and they started noticing that after the school year, their children started to regress. And as a parent, that's hard to see your child go so far to only take 10 steps backwards. So with this, they actually started the extended school year program so that these students can continue to get the education they need to stay on track. Then we have Timothy W. Burr's Rochester School District, which happened in 1989. And this particular court case led to the zero rejection policy, which means that students cannot be denied an education because of special disabilities and different special needs that they might have. Meaning there was a point in time where students were getting expelled and kicked out of school because they didn't have the resources, or as in the case for this student, his disabilities were too severe and the school couldn't handle it. Thankfully, they did pass the zero rejection policy, so therefore he could get an education, and there are all these different ways for him to get the education that he deserves. Some resources that I know New Jersey provides is the early intervention, which helps students early on with behavioral and academic needs to help them really, really success in school and be successful students to reach the max capability that they have. Another thing that I know New Jersey provides is the special education parent advisory groups, which is wonderful. These groups are so parents can get together, talk to each other, come up with different ideas, different programs that can help their children. And it educates the parents on their children's disabilities, so they can even learn a little bit more about how they can help their child at home as well as in school. I know another thing that we do in the district I work in is we provide different trainings for the teachers and the paraprofessionals that work with these students. As myself, that I work in an MD room, and we are given different tools and tactics to use while teaching these kids to help prevent behaviors, to help them focus, and to help them really retain information to the best ability that they can. And I think that's actually really, really wonderful. Um, Special education has a lot of ins and outs and downfalls, and I feel like it's still a work in progress. Our students are right now getting the best that they can, but I feel like there's so much more we can do, and the more we know, the better we can do. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.